The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
What makes a house a home? Let's discuss on today's edition of Liberty at Home. Hello there, friends. We're back with our latest episode of Liberty at Home. My name is Adam Riveiro, and I'm the pastor of the Liberty Baptist Church, which has been serving both Easton and the surrounding communities for the past 11 years. Today, as always, we're broadcasting from beautiful Easton, Massachusetts, where residents are currently enjoying ice skating on the picturesque Yardley Wood Rink at the southwest corner of Center and Depot Streets. On today's episode, we're continuing our study of Proverbs, and this week we'll be in Proverbs chapter 17. So let's turn our Bibles and read the very first two verses. And the Word of God says, "Better is a dry morsel, and quietness therewith, than a house full of sacrifices with strife. A wise servant shall have rule over a son that causeth shame, and shall have part of the inheritance among the brethren." I don't know much about building houses. Actually, check that. I don't know anything about building houses. As a lifelong renter, I have very little knowledge about what it takes to either build or maintain a home. The fact that my toolkit came from IKEA ought to tell you what you need to know. While I may not know much about building houses, I can tell you this for certain. There's a great difference between building a house and a home. And that's the focus of the first two verses of this chapter of Proverbs. In fact, it's a theme that comes up in several different ways throughout the chapter. For instance, consider our first verse in particular. "Better is a dry morsel, and quietness therewith, than a house full of sacrifices with strife." Of course, Solomon understood this verse in a very unique way due to the incredible palace he had constructed for himself and his family. Solomon's palace, described in the book of 1 Kings, took 14 years to complete, twice as long as the 7 years spent constructing the temple. The largest structure measured 150 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. It was supported by 4 rows of cedar pillars with cedar beams atop them, and its 3 rows of windows were positioned directly opposite each other for symmetry and light. Another significant section was the porch of pillars, which measured 75 feet long and 45 feet wide and featured a porch in front with pillars and a canopy. And this is just a portion of what was part of the greater palace complex. The palace itself was constructed using costly materials, including large, high-quality stones, some as large as 15 feet long and others 12 feet long, all for the foundation, with the upper stones and cedar beams being similarly expensive and finely furnished. Suffice it to say that it was quite a house. Yet, Solomon looks back at his life and he makes this observation: there's a difference between a house and a home. Yes, there are things in life greater than a 3-car garage and more desirable than granite countertops. And let's be honest, the joy that these things can bring are temporary at best. What I'm saying is that if you're looking to improve your home, your first thought shouldn't be about moving to a different zip code or buying one of Easton's many McMansions. Rather, first of all, invest in the other people who live inside your home, for this is where true treasures lie. Seek harmony with your spouse through the Word of God. Lovingly teach your children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And of course, find a church where the Word of God is taught and preached, and serve God together as a family. If you're curious, the last half of Ephesians chapter 5 and the beginning of Ephesians chapter 6 give a detailed set of building plans, not for a house, but for a home that's both pleasing to God and pleasant to all those who occupy it. It's good to know that whether you own or rent your house, God has given us all the tools to have a home that brings rest and refuge in this crazy world we live in. And that's going to be a wrap for today's episode of Liberty at Home. But before we go, I'd be remiss if I didn't invite you to visit us this week at Liberty Baptist Church. We meet at 800 Washington Street, Route 138, here in Easton. And we're right across from Easton Pool and Spa. Find out more about the church at mylibertybaptist.org. Time's up, so don't forget that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Catch you on next week's episode of Liberty at Home.